My best friend's wife warned, "Do betray my trust." I answered, "Then we'll play by your rules." Even from a distance, the massive structure shimmered like a silver web against the darkness of space. Humanity had built it at the edge of known space, a hub for research, diplomacy, and the delicate task of managing first contact with alien civilizations. Marcus had been called here for his skills in diplomacy and engineering. He was not a soldier, though he had seen enough conflict to know the edge of human cunning. But nothing in his experience prepared him for the intensity of this station, nor for the people waiting there. The shuttle docked with a gentle thrum, and the hatch opened to reveal a bustling docking bay. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats moved with purpose, their conversations blending into a low hum of controlled chaos. Marcus stepped out, feeling both excitement and unease. "Marcus," a voice called, smooth and controlled, from the shadows. He turned to see a woman approaching, her presence immediately commanding attention. She had sharp eyes that seemed to measure everything, every detail of him. Even in the bright light of the docking bay, her dark hair and professional uniform gave her an aura of authority and calm. "Leora," he said, surprised. She was the wife of his old friend, Darren, the station commander. They had met briefly at a conference years ago, and while he remembered her as friendly, now she radiated something different, intelligence sharpened to a blade. "Marcus," she said, her voice soft but firm. "Welcome to the station." She stopped a few feet away, studying him like a scientist observing a rare specimen. "And I need to warn you," her eyes locked onto his, "don't betray my trust." Marcus raised an eyebrow, caught off guard by the intensity. "Then we'll play by your rules," he replied, choosing confidence over confusion. Something about the way she spoke made him certain this was no ordinary greeting. Leora nodded slightly, as if she had expected that answer. "Good," she said. "You will need that mindset here. Trust is everything, Marcus. You will see soon enough why." They walked through the docking bay into the station proper. The corridors were sleek and metallic, with light panels that shifted colors according to activity levels. Engineers passed by, carrying tools and data tablets, while scientists consulted holographic displays. Everywhere Marcus looked, he saw humans pushing the boundaries of knowledge and survival. Leora led him to a smaller room, a briefing area with a large holographic table in the center. Images of alien worlds, spacecraft schematics, and encrypted messages hovered above it. She gestured for him to sit. "Here's the situation," she began. "We are negotiating with a new alien species. They are cautious, extremely intelligent, and unpredictable. Our job is to prove that humans can be trusted partners and not manipulators. If we fail, the consequences could reach far beyond this station." Marcus leaned forward, studying the projections. He had read the reports, but seeing the data visualized this way made the stakes clear. These aliens weren't just another species to observe. They were capable of strategic deception, and they tested every interaction carefully. "And that is why," Leora continued, "I am testing you. Not your technical skill, not your diplomacy alone, but your integrity and judgment. You must prove that you can operate under my rules, rules designed to protect both humans and aliens. One mistake and we risk everything." Marcus felt a thrill. This was not just a mission, it was a challenge. "I accept your rules," he said, meeting her gaze. "I can follow them." Leora's expression softened, but only slightly. "Good. The first step begins immediately. We will start with simulations, ethical dilemmas, strategic decision-making, and unexpected scenarios. Everything will test your ability to respond without losing sight of the greater goal." Marcus nodded, eager yet cautious. He had faced simulations before, but something about Leora's tone made him sense that failure here would carry weight beyond a simple evaluation. The first simulation began in a room filled with holographic panels. Marcus was presented with a scenario: An alien ship drifting toward a human colony, apparently disabled. The simulation demanded a decision: rescue the ship and risk potential sabotage, or wait and risk losing contact forever. Marcus paused, analyzing the data. He considered the risks carefully. Acting without trust, without understanding the aliens' true intentions, could be catastrophic. But waiting could mean failure to uphold humanity's moral responsibility. After careful thought, he chose a cautious approach. Initiate communication, send a small team of trusted engineers and monitor every step. The simulation responded immediately. Leora's voice filled the room. Decision noted. Your reasoning is sound, though not perfect. You considered risk and ethics together. Keep that balance. You will need it. As the simulation ended, Marcus realized that Leora's tests were more than training. They were teaching him to anticipate deception, to operate in uncertainty, and to rely on both logic and instinct. Over the next hours, he faced scenario after scenario. Each one was more complex than the last. Some involved human lives, others the safety of the aliens, and a few appeared deliberately designed to provoke emotional reaction. Marcus learned quickly to control his impulses, to weigh outcomes carefully, and to recognize patterns of manipulation. During a short break, he finally allowed himself a moment to observe Leora. She was not participating, only watching. Yet her eyes missed nothing, every hesitation, every calculated move he made. She had a presence that seemed to fill the room, commanding respect without a word. Marcus realized that her warning, "Don't betray my trust," was less about him personally and more about the responsibility humans carried in this fragile frontier of space. By the end of the day, Marcus was exhausted but exhilarated. He had survived the first round of tests, but he knew this was only the beginning. Leora's subtle lessons had already shown him that human potential wasn't just about intelligence or bravery. It was about integrity, adaptability, and the ability to play by rules that others might find constraining. As he prepared to leave the simulation room, Leora approached him again. "You did well today," she said. "But tomorrow, the real challenge begins. The aliens arrive, and your skills will be tested in ways no simulation can replicate. Remember, your choices define not just you, but humanity." Marcus nodded, feeling a sense of weight settle on his shoulders. Yet with that weight came resolve. He had accepted her rules, and he was determined to meet her expectations. In this station at the edge of human space, trust and ingenuity were more valuable than any weapon. That night, as Marcus looked out the observation deck at the stars stretching endlessly into the void, he reflected on the warning that had brought him here. "Don't betray my trust." It was not a threat, it was a challenge, and he intended to rise to it. The stars outside seemed almost to pulse with possibility. Humanity had built this station, ventured into the unknown, and now faced its first real test against an alien intelligence. Marcus felt a thrill in knowing that the future depended not on luck, but on human creativity, morality, and trust. Somewhere deep inside, he also knew that Leora's trust would not be given lightly. He would have to earn it step by step through logic, courage, and careful judgment. But he was ready. As sleep approached, Marcus allowed himself a small smile. He had played by her rules today, and tomorrow he would face the real frontier, the one where humans could prove their worth not just through technology, but through the strength of their character. The station hummed softly around him, alive with the quiet energy of countless minds working together at the edge of the unknown. Marcus felt a sense of belonging and purpose. Humanity had always been clever, adaptable, and daring. And here in this far corner of space, those qualities would be tested, and perhaps celebrated, in ways he had never imagined. And for the first time since he arrived, Marcus felt that thrill every explorer knows. The pulse of adventure, the weight of responsibility, and the spark of something greater waiting to be discovered. The next morning, Marcus awoke before the station alarms rang, his mind still racing from the simulations of the previous day. Every scenario, every decision, had been a small window into the complexity of life aboard the station. But today promised to be different. Today he would face not simulations but reality. Leora met him in the central corridor, her steps quiet yet purposeful. Her eyes, sharp as ever, studied him for signs of fatigue or hesitation. Marcus tried to appear calm, though he felt a knot of anticipation in his stomach. "Ready for today?" she asked. There was no trace of humor in her voice, only the authority of someone who had seen countless people fail when stakes were high. "I'm ready," Marcus replied. He did not say he was nervous. He had learned quickly that showing doubt would only make the tests harder. Leora nodded and led him through the twisting corridors toward the station's operations deck. Screens glowed with incoming messages, status reports, and encrypted transmissions. Engineers moved purposefully, coordinating systems with precision. The station felt alive, a living organism guided by human ingenuity. "The aliens arrive today," Leora said, her tone steady. "You will not just observe, you will interact. But first, you will pass through the preliminary test. Consider it a final measure before we step into the unknown." She led Marcus into a small chamber, stark except for a table and a holographic projector in the center. As he stepped inside, the projector sprang to life, displaying a virtual alien vessel approaching the station. The simulation was unlike any they had run before. It pulsed with subtle movements, unpredictable patterns, and shifting configurations that made even experienced engineers hesitate. "Your task," Leora began, "is to establish contact and assess the ship's intentions. You have limited time. Your decisions will be monitored and your reasoning evaluated. Remember what I told you yesterday. Trust is everything." Marcus examined the display carefully. The vessel's energy readings were erratic, suggesting either a new form of propulsion or a concealed weapon. He took a deep breath. In simulations, he had time to think and retry. Now, he would need to act decisively. He initiated communication protocols, sending a neutral signal to the vessel. A moment later, the ship responded, not in words but in patterns of light and vibration. Marcus recognized the challenge immediately. This was not a simple language. It was a test of comprehension, logic, and patience. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. Marcus tried different approaches, analyzing the patterns, predicting the ship's next responses. Leora watched silently from the corner, her expression unreadable. Marcus felt as though every thought, every decision was under her scrutiny. Finally, a breakthrough. He recognized a sequence that mirrored basic mathematical principles, something familiar across intelligent species. He responded using a combination of light pulses and energy modulations. The alien ship paused, as if acknowledging understanding. "Well done," Leora said, breaking the silence. "You have demonstrated observation, reasoning, and restraint. You did not act rashly. That is critical. These aliens value patience and logic above all else." Marcus exhaled, tension leaving his shoulders slightly. "So the test worked?" he asked. "Partly," Leora said. "The real test begins when intentions are unknown and consequences are real." Before he could question her further, alarms rang throughout the station. A voice over the intercom announced, "Alien vessel in docking approach. All personnel prepare for Protocol Alpha." Marcus felt the familiar thrill of responsibility. The simulations had prepared him, but now there was no room for error. He followed Leora to the observation deck, where the alien ship glided closer, its hull shimmering with colors Marcus had never seen before. The station crew moved with efficiency born of training and experience. Engineers adjusted shields, technicians monitored life support systems, and diplomats prepared for initial contact. Marcus could see the tension on their faces. Unlike him, many were not accustomed to improvisation under pressure. They relied on routine. The alien vessel docked smoothly, and a containment field activated around the airlock. Marcus's heart pounded. This was the moment that could define humanity's reputation with the new species. Leora turned to him, her expression serious. Your task now is to communicate with them directly. Remember, trust, observation, and patience. You are the human face of our species. One mistake could be catastrophic. Marcus nodded. He stepped forward into the communication chamber, a neutral space with reinforced walls and transparent panels. The alien representatives emerged, tall, slender, and visually striking. Their features were unfamiliar, yet there was intelligence in their eyes, a sense of curiosity tempered by caution. The first moments were tense. Words were ineffective, gestures meaningless. Marcus remembered the patterns from the earlier simulation. He used light pulses and controlled energy signals to mirror their communication style. Slowly, understanding began to form. The aliens responded in kind, matching his efforts with careful precision. It was a delicate dance, a test of patience, logic, and empathy. Marcus felt the weight of every action, every signal. One misstep could be interpreted as aggression or dishonesty, but as minutes passed, a rhythm emerged. Communication, fragile but genuine, took root. Leora observed quietly, occasionally jotting notes. Marcus sensed her approval not in words, but in the slight nods and focused gaze. He realized that her earlier warning, "Don't betray my trust," was about more than personal integrity. It was about representing humanity itself, proving that humans could navigate the unknown with wisdom and care. Hours later, the first stage of contact was complete. The aliens had shared basic information about their culture, technology, and objectives. They had tested Marcus as much as he had tested them. Leora approached, her expression unreadable. "You have passed the first real test," she said. "You demonstrated patience, adaptability, and the ability to maintain composure under pressure. More importantly, you upheld trust. That is rare among humans." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Relief mingled with pride. He had acted correctly, not for personal gain but for the greater mission. Yet he knew this was only the beginning. The aliens were intelligent, observant, and unpredictable. Their full intentions remained a mystery, and future interactions could carry far higher stakes. As the day progressed, Marcus was guided through further tasks. Analyzing alien technology, advising on diplomatic protocols, and predicting potential misunderstandings that could escalate into conflict. Each task was designed to push him to test both skill and judgment and to reinforce Leora's rules. During a brief pause, he asked, "Why me? Why these tests?" Leora's eyes softened slightly. "Because you have potential. Potential to rise above fear, to make decisions that honor humanity's best qualities. These aliens will challenge us in ways we cannot predict. We need humans who can think clearly, act wisely, and maintain trust even when under pressure." Marcus considered her words carefully. He had always believed in human ingenuity, but now he saw a new dimension. Humanity's strength lay not just in cleverness, but in the ability to navigate moral complexity, to adapt, and to earn trust in a universe where misunderstanding could be fatal. The final task of the day came unexpectedly. A subsystem aboard the alien vessel began to fluctuate, threatening to destabilize the docking procedure. Marcus, using everything he had learned, coordinated a solution. He calculated the energy output, rerouted power, and stabilized the vessel, all while maintaining communication with the aliens. The crew watched, impressed by his calm and precision. When the danger passed, Leora approached again. "Today, you proved yourself. Not just to me, but to the station and to these visitors. You honored trust and demonstrated human capability. Remember this moment. It will guide you in the challenges to come." Marcus felt a deep sense of accomplishment, tempered by the knowledge that this was only the first day of a much larger journey. Leora's tests had revealed the fragile balance between intellect, ethics, and trust, the very foundation of humanity's survival and influence in the universe. As he returned to his quarters, Marcus reflected on the day. He realized that Leora's warning had never been about fear or restriction. It had been a call to responsibility, a reminder that trust, earned and maintained, was humanity's greatest strength in a universe full of uncertainty. Looking out at the stars from the observation deck, he felt the familiar thrill of discovery. Humanity had reached the edge of the unknown, and today he had taken his first real steps into that frontier, not alone, but with guidance, purpose, and trust as his compass. Tomorrow promised even greater challenges, but Marcus felt ready. He had learned to play by the rules, to navigate complexity, and to represent the best of humanity. And in this station at the edge of space, that was a skill more valuable than any technology. As sleep claimed him, Marcus allowed one final thought to take root. The journey ahead would test everything he knew, but he would face it with the integrity and ingenuity that defined humanity. And he would not betray the trust placed in him, not today, not ever. Despite the artificial gravity and climate controls, he often imagined the void outside, endless and silent, and it made every human sound, the hum of machinery, footsteps on metal floors, feel significant. Each noise was a reminder that humanity was alive, clever, and persistent even at the edge of the galaxy. Leora was already waiting for him, standing near the observation panel that displayed the alien vessel from yesterday. Its surface shimmered under the station lights, calm yet mysterious. Marcus noticed the subtle tension in her posture, a warning he didn't need words to understand. "Today," she began, "the aliens have requested a joint exercise. They want to test human reaction to unexpected threats. This will not be a simulation. You will make decisions that could affect lives on both sides. Remember what I told you, trust is everything. One mistake can be catastrophic." Marcus nodded. The weight of her words pressed on him, but he felt ready. The lessons of the past day, the simulations, the delicate first contact, had prepared him, or so he thought. The station's alarms suddenly shifted into a different pattern. The alien vessel had emitted a signal unlike any before, erratic but deliberate. Marcus quickly reviewed the data. Some internal systems were fluctuating, causing minor power surges. No one was injured, but the potential for a critical failure was high. Leora's voice was calm yet sharp. "You have 15 minutes to analyze and respond. Choose wisely. Any wrong move could escalate into conflict." Marcus took a deep breath. He immediately recognized that this was no ordinary technical issue. Something about the system fluctuations didn't match the alien ship's recorded behaviors. They were testing him, but why? Was this part of their diplomatic protocol or a subtle threat? He dove into the data, cross-referencing energy outputs, life support readings, and alien operational logs. His mind raced, but the prior simulations had trained him to manage pressure without panic. Minutes passed, each one stretching longer than the last. Marcus proposed a cautious solution: stabilize the power fluctuations by rerouting energy temporarily while maintaining constant communication with the aliens. This approach balanced safety with trust, showing that humans could act decisively without aggression. Leora observed silently, occasionally jotting notes. Marcus felt her eyes on him, weighing every choice. He realized that this was more than a technical test, it was a moral one. Could he maintain trust while ensuring human safety? Could he act without assuming malicious intent? The aliens responded almost immediately. Their lights pulsed in patterns Marcus recognized from yesterday's communication exercise. It was approval, reluctant, careful, but unmistakable. His approach had worked. "Good," Leora said after the situation stabilized. "You acted without fear and without deception. That is not easy, Many humans would have panicked, reacted aggressively, or taken shortcuts. You maintained the principles I asked you to honor. Marcus exhaled, relief mingled with satisfaction. So the test continues then, he asked. Leora's expression remained serious. Always, the station is not a static place. Trust is fragile and the aliens are patient observers. You may face situations where humans, or even you, will be tempted to betray that trust for perceived advantage. You must resist. Marcus nodded, understanding her meaning more clearly than ever. The aliens had a subtle way of observing human behavior, exploiting flaws not through force, but through patience and intelligence. One misstep, one unethical choice could escalate rapidly. As the day progressed, Marcus was guided through additional exercises with increasing complexity. He coordinated joint engineering efforts with the aliens, helping them calibrate energy systems while respecting their procedural norms. He facilitated discussions about navigation strategies for long-distance space travel, translating human problem-solving into formats the aliens could understand. Each task was delicate, requiring precise judgment and ethical consideration. During a break, he walked along the observation deck, looking out at the endless stars. Leora joined him silently, and for a moment they simply watched the void together. "You're learning quickly," she said softly. "But remember this, these tests are not about speed or intelligence alone. They are about character. Do you have the patience to wait for understanding? The restraint to act morally when pressured? The courage to face consequences for ethical decisions?" Marcus thought carefully. "I think I do, I have to. It's not just about me, it's about the humans on this station and maybe beyond." Leora nodded. "Exactly. Humanity's strength is not just technology or strategy. It is integrity, adaptability, and trustworthiness. That is what will set us apart in this universe." Her words resonated with Marcus. He understood that the real challenge wasn't in solving technical problems or winning debates. It was in navigating situations where the right choice might not be the easiest or the most immediately rewarding. Later, an urgent alert pulled them both back to the operations deck. One of the alien envoys had identified a potential hazard. A cargo bay contained volatile materials that could destabilize the station if mishandled. The complication: some of the materials were sensitive to human intervention, and improper action could trigger a catastrophic reaction. Marcus reviewed the situation carefully. He could command human engineers to secure the materials immediately, but that might violate the aliens' procedures, undermining trust. Alternatively, he could attempt a collaborative approach, risking slower response time but preserving mutual respect. He chose collaboration. Using both human and alien protocols, he guided a joint team to stabilize the cargo bay, carefully explaining each step. It was tense work, requiring constant monitoring and quick adjustments. Finally, the operation succeeded without incident. The aliens expressed appreciation through complex signaling patterns which Marcus interpreted accurately. Leora's expression softened slightly. "You did well," she said. "You acted decisively but with respect. That is rare. Many humans might have taken shortcuts or ignored protocols under pressure. You upheld trust, and in doing so, strengthened our position here." Marcus realized she was not just praising him, she was teaching him a lesson about leadership. Being human did not mean acting recklessly or selfishly. It meant combining ingenuity with integrity, cleverness with moral responsibility. But just as Marcus began to relax, another alert sounded. This one was different, less technical, more strategic. Reports indicated that a faction within the alien crew might be testing human response to subtle deception. One of the envoys had made a request that seemed harmless on the surface, but could have serious long-term consequences if followed blindly. Marcus paused. This was exactly the type of situation Leora had warned him about. Acting rashly could betray trust. Hesitating could signal weakness. He needed to think carefully, balancing ethics, strategy, and communication. He chose transparency. Marcus communicated openly with both the aliens and Leora, explaining the potential risks of the request while proposing alternatives that respected alien protocols. It was a delicate maneuver, and he felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. The response was subtle but positive. The envoys adjusted their approach, testing him further but without crossing the line into overt manipulation. Marcus felt a sense of relief, but knew this was only a temporary reprieve. The aliens were patient and intelligent, capable of observing and exploiting the slightest error. By the end of the day, Marcus felt both exhausted and exhilarated. He had faced technical challenges, moral dilemmas, and strategic tests, and emerged without compromising his principles. Leora approached him once more, her eyes reflecting approval. "You have demonstrated growth," she said. "Not just skill, but judgment. You resisted shortcuts, upheld trust, and acted with integrity. But remember, this is only the beginning. Greater challenges await and the stakes will rise." Marcus nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. The station was not merely a hub of human achievement. It was a crucible, testing the very qualities that defined humanity. Every decision he made now could shape not only the present but the future of human-alien relations. That night, as Marcus gazed out at the infinite expanse of space, he reflected on the day's events. Trust, he realized, was fragile and precious. Intelligence and strategy were valuable, but without integrity, they could lead to disaster. Humanity had survived countless challenges on Earth through ingenuity, adaptability, and moral courage. Here, at the edge of the galaxy, those same qualities would be tested on an even larger scale. Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. He would not betray trust, either Leora's or the trust humanity was building with the aliens. He had learned that strength lay not only in cleverness, but in patience, ethics, and careful judgment. And with that understanding, he was ready for the challenges that tomorrow would bring. For Marcus, the frontier of space was not merely a place of exploration, it was a proving ground for the best of humanity. And he intended to rise to that challenge, step by careful step, without compromising the principles that defined him and his species. The stars outside seemed endless, a silent witness to human determination and potential. Marcus knew that one day, these lessons would shape not only the survival of the station, but the reputation of all humanity among the stars. And he was ready to face whatever came next, guided by trust, intelligence, and the unwavering belief in human capability. The station's corridors hummed with activity as Marcus made his way to the central command deck. A sense of tension had settled over the crew like a thick fog. Yesterday had been demanding, testing patience, judgment, and trust. Today promised something more dangerous, a test not of skill alone, but of humanity's capacity to act under pressure while maintaining integrity. Leora met him at the entrance to the operations chamber. Her gaze was sharp, unwavering, a silent reminder that this was not a drill. "Marcus," she said, her voice calm but commanding, "the aliens have proposed a collaborative exercise with consequences that could affect the station and their vessel. You will lead the human side. Every choice matters. Remember what I have taught you: trust, observation, and moral judgment." Marcus nodded. He felt ready, though a quiet weight of responsibility pressed on his shoulders. The lessons of the past days, the simulations, the moral dilemmas, the delicate diplomacy, had prepared him. But nothing could completely prepare anyone for real stakes. The command deck was alive with activity. Holographic displays projected the alien ship alongside the station, showing complex energy flows, structural stress points, and environmental data. A new problem had emerged. The station's energy network had begun to fluctuate unexpectedly, threatening the stability of both human and alien systems. The aliens had suggested a solution that seemed efficient on the surface but violated standard safety protocols. Following it could save time but risk catastrophic failure if miscalculated. Marcus had to make a choice: follow their recommendation and risk lives, or propose an alternative that preserved safety but could be slower and appear less cooperative. He recalled Leora's lessons. Trust, she had said, was earned through integrity. Acting with caution while maintaining communication and collaboration was the path forward. Marcus took a deep breath and addressed both teams. "We will stabilize the network together," he said. "We will follow procedures that protect all lives. I need full cooperation from both human and alien crews. One mistake will compromise everyone." The aliens exchanged signals, subtle flashes of light across their hull, and then agreed. Marcus felt a surge of cautious optimism. The key was balance: confidence without arrogance, careful action without delay. He coordinated engineers on both sides, dividing tasks efficiently while explaining each step to the aliens in ways they could understand. Every calculation, every adjustment, required precision and attention. The station's energy grid was delicate, and a single misstep could trigger a cascade of failures. Minutes turned into tense hours. Marcus remained focused, anticipating potential complications before they arose. He noticed that some humans began to doubt the plan, tempted to take shortcuts to speed the process. He reminded them of the stakes calmly but firmly. "Every step matters," he said. "We succeed only by following the rules. Trust me and trust yourselves. We cannot afford mistakes." Leora observed silently from her station, occasionally making notes. Marcus felt her approval in the quiet acknowledgement of his decisions. She had not interfered, but her presence was a constant reminder that trust must be maintained, not only with aliens but with those he led. A sudden warning flashed across the central display. A minor system overload in the alien vessel threatened to disrupt the synchronized stabilization. The aliens reacted instinctively, attempting a quick manual override. Marcus acted immediately, coordinating a solution that allowed them to stabilize the vessel without violating safety protocols. The crew followed his lead, executing the procedure flawlessly. It was a delicate dance of logic, patience, and adaptability. Marcus realized that this was more than engineering. It was diplomacy in action, proving that humans could act ethically under pressure while remaining effective. When the final system stabilized, the station and the alien vessel hummed in balanced synchronization. The crisis had been averted without injury or damage. Marcus allowed himself a moment to exhale, though he remained alert, knowing this was only part of the ongoing tests. Leora approached him, her expression finally revealing a hint of a smile. "You did well," she said. "You acted decisively but with integrity. You demonstrated the human capacity to combine intelligence with ethics. That is what the aliens respect most, minds that act with care, even when pressed to the edge." Marcus felt pride, but also humility. He understood that the lesson was deeper than solving technical challenges. It was about proving humanity's character, the ability to handle pressure, respect trust, and act morally even when the easier choice was to compromise. The aliens communicated in patterns that Marcus interpreted as approval and curiosity. They had witnessed human ingenuity firsthand, but more importantly, they had observed humans acting ethically under real pressure. Marcus realized that this was precisely what Leora had wanted: to demonstrate humanity's value not just through cleverness, but through moral judgment. After the immediate crisis passed, Leora guided Marcus to a quieter observation deck overlooking the alien vessel. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the station, silent witnesses to human determination. "You handled everything correctly," she said. "But the real challenge is not over. Trust and integrity must be sustained over time. The aliens will continue to test humans in subtle ways, probing decisions, observing reactions, and measuring responses. Every choice matters. Marcus considered her words. He had learned that being clever or fast was not enough. True strength came from balancing intellect with ethics, action with foresight, and confidence with restraint. He realized that humanity's advantage lay not just in technology, but in character, the ability to act responsibly under uncertainty. As the day progressed, further tasks emerged. The aliens proposed collaborative engineering projects that required simultaneous human and alien input. They introduced variables that were unpredictable, requiring Marcus to adjust plans on the fly without violating safety or trust. One particularly complex task involved stabilizing an energy conduit that connected both vessels' power networks. A miscalculation could have caused catastrophic overload, but acting too slowly would have appeared indecisive. Marcus calculated a plan that allowed both teams to work in tandem, carefully guiding each step and maintaining constant communication. Minutes became tense hours as the conduit hummed with energy. Marcus remained vigilant, anticipating complications and adapting as necessary. Engineers from both species followed his instructions precisely. Leora observed without interference, letting him lead while monitoring his adherence to her principles. Finally, the task was completed successfully. Energy levels stabilized, and both vessels were fully synchronized. Marcus allowed himself a moment to acknowledge the accomplishment. The aliens responded with subtle patterns of recognition, and Marcus interpreted them as respect for human capability and ethical judgment. Leora's voice broke the quiet. Today, you proved that humans can operate under pressure, maintain trust, and act with integrity even when faced with complex moral and technical challenges. You did not betray the trust I placed in you or in your species. Marcus felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The lessons of the past days, simulations, moral dilemmas, and strategic decision-making had culminated in a real demonstration of human potential. He understood now that ingenuity alone was insufficient. Integrity and careful judgment were equally vital. As he prepared to leave the observation deck, Leora added one final thought. Remember, Marcus, the tests are continuous. Humanity will face countless situations where the right choice is not obvious. Trust, ethics, and intelligence must guide every action. That is how we thrive, not through shortcuts or deception, but through skill, character, and collaboration. Marcus nodded, absorbing her words. The journey ahead would be demanding, and the aliens' subtle tests would continue, but he felt ready. He had learned to play by the rules, to act with both intelligence and moral judgment, and to represent humanity faithfully. That night, Marcus stood alone in his quarters, gazing at the stars. He reflected on the events of the day, realizing that human strength was not measured solely by technology or strategy, but by the ability to act wisely, ethically, and creatively under pressure. He felt a quiet pride in humanity's potential. The station, the alien vessel, and the infinite cosmos were silent witnesses to human ingenuity and integrity. Marcus knew that every choice he made would ripple outward, shaping the perception of humanity among the stars. As sleep approached, Marcus allowed himself a sense of resolve. He would continue to act wisely, uphold trust, and demonstrate human capability at every opportunity. The challenges ahead would test everything he had learned, but he was ready to face them. The frontier of space was vast, unknown, and unpredictable, but Marcus knew one thing with certainty. Humanity had the potential to thrive, not just through intelligence, but through integrity, collaboration, and trust. And he would lead by example, step by careful step. The station hummed with quiet activity, but the tension in the air was unmistakable. Marcus walked through the main corridor, his mind focused on the final challenge that awaited him. The aliens had requested a joint mission, a test of strategy, communication, and trust under pressure. This was no simulation. Failure could compromise not only the station, but the fragile alliance humanity had begun to build with the alien species. Leora met him at the entrance to the operations deck. Her eyes were calm but sharp, the same eyes that had scrutinized every decision he had made since his arrival. "Today," she said, "is the ultimate test. The aliens will observe every choice you make. You will need to act quickly, think critically, and maintain the principles you've learned. Remember, trust and integrity define humanity here." Marcus nodded. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him, but also a sense of purpose. The past days of simulations, moral dilemmas, and high-stakes collaboration had prepared him. Now, it was time to prove humanity's worth in the eyes of these intelligent observers. The operations deck came alive with holographic displays projecting both the station and the alien vessel. Sensors indicated a region of space nearby, where a rogue energy field threatened to destabilize navigation systems for both humans and aliens. The field was unpredictable, shifting patterns that could disable propulsion, life support, or communications if handled incorrectly. The aliens suggested a risky approach that could neutralize the energy field quickly but violated safety protocols. Acting too hastily could trigger a cascade of failures. Marcus recalled Leora's lessons. The right choice is not always the fastest or the easiest, but it must maintain trust and integrity. He turned to the human crew. "We will stabilize the energy field together with the aliens," he said firmly. "We will follow protocols that protect all lives. Cooperation and trust are essential. One mistake, and we could lose everything." The aliens responded in subtle pulses of light across their hull, indicating cautious agreement. Marcus felt a surge of determination. The key was balance. Act decisively without compromising ethics. Move efficiently without causing risk. Marcus coordinated engineers on both sides, assigning tasks carefully and explaining each step. Human and alien teams worked in synchrony, translating complex data between species and maintaining constant communication. Every adjustment required calculation, foresight, and patience. Hours passed in tense focus. The energy field shifted unpredictably, and minor complications arose, a surge here, a fluctuation there. But Marcus anticipated each problem before it could escalate. He guided both teams, ensuring safety and efficiency. Leora observed from her station, silent but attentive, her presence a reminder of the trust he had earned and the responsibility he carried. At one point, a sudden spike in the energy field threatened the alien vessel's core systems. The aliens reacted instinctively, attempting a rapid override that could have destabilized the entire operation. Marcus acted instantly, recalculating energy flows and directing a coordinated response that stabilized the vessel without violating safety protocols. The crew followed his lead flawlessly, and the crisis passed. When the energy field finally dissipated, the station and alien vessel were fully secure. Marcus allowed himself a deep breath, though he remained alert. The mission had succeeded, but more importantly, it had proven something essential. Humans could act with intelligence, integrity, and collaboration under extreme pressure. Leora approached him, her expression now carrying the faintest hint of a smile. "You have done more than survive the tests," she said. "You have demonstrated the strength of human character. You have maintained trust, acted with foresight, and collaborated effectively. The aliens respect that more than any technological advantage we could offer." Marcus felt a swell of pride, tempered by humility. The recognition was not just personal, it was a validation of humanity itself. The skills, ethics, and ingenuity that had defined their species were now visible on a stage far beyond Earth. The aliens communicated in complex signals, which Marcus interpreted as approval and curiosity. They had witnessed human ingenuity in action, but more importantly, They had observed humans acting ethically under real-world pressures. This, Marcus understood, was the greatest achievement. Leora guided him to the observation deck, overlooking the alien vessel as it stabilized its systems. The stars beyond were endless, silent witnesses to human determination. "You have proven that humans can thrive under pressure without compromising ethics," Leora said. "That is rare. Many species act purely on instinct or self-interest. Humans have the capacity to combine intellect with morality, creativity with foresight. That is our strength." Marcus reflected on her words. He realized that the lessons of the past days, simulations, moral dilemmas, and high-stakes collaboration were not merely tests. They were training, preparation for the real frontier of human-alien relations. Every decision mattered, and integrity had to guide every action. As the hours passed, the aliens began to communicate openly with the human crew, sharing advanced techniques and insights that had been previously withheld. It was a tangible sign of trust, a recognition that humanity could be a reliable partner, capable of learning, adapting, and collaborating across species boundaries. Marcus continued to work with the crews, guiding them through final checks, analyzing data, and ensuring that both vessels operated in harmony. His leadership was steady, balanced, and grounded in the principles Leora had instilled: observation, patience, and moral judgment. By evening, the station was calm. The aliens had departed for their home systems, leaving behind a sense of respect and cautious optimism. Marcus stood on the observation deck, watching the stars stretch endlessly into the void. He felt a profound sense of accomplishment, not just for himself but for humanity. Leora joined him silently. "You have done well," she said, "not just by my standards but by the standards of the universe. Trust is fragile, yet you upheld it. You acted with intelligence and ethics. That is what will allow humans to thrive among the stars." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. "It feels good to know that humans can be trusted," he said, "that we can rise to the challenge when it matters most." Leora's eyes softened slightly. "Trust must be maintained, Marcus. But today, you have proven that it is possible. That is the first step toward a future where humans are respected not just for technology or strategy, but for character and ingenuity." The station continued its quiet hum, a testament to human achievement at the edge of the galaxy. Marcus knew the journey was far from over, many challenges awaited, but he also knew that humanity's potential had been validated. Through intelligence, patience, and moral courage, they had demonstrated their worth to the universe. As he prepared for rest, Marcus reflected on the lessons of the past days. Trust was fragile and precious. Intelligence and strategy were valuable, but without integrity, they could lead to disaster. Humanity had survived countless challenges on Earth through creativity, resilience, and ethical action. Here, at the edge of the galaxy, those same qualities had proven their value once more. He thought of Leora's warning from the first day: "Don't betray my trust." At the time, it had felt like a personal challenge, but now Marcus understood its deeper meaning. It had been a call to responsibility, a reminder that trust, integrity, and ethical action were humanity's greatest assets. The stars outside the observation deck seemed endless, a silent audience to the human journey. Marcus felt a sense of fulfillment and hope. He had learned to act decisively without compromising ethics, to lead without arrogance, and to earn trust through action. Humanity's potential was vast, and the universe was watching. As sleep claimed him, Marcus allowed himself one final thought. The journey of humans among the stars would be filled with uncertainty, danger, and moral challenges. But if they acted with intelligence, integrity, and trust, they could thrive, and perhaps even inspire others. He closed his eyes with quiet confidence, ready to face the challenges ahead, knowing that humanity's strength lay not only in technology or strategy, but in character, judgment, and the ability to act wisely when it mattered most. The station's hum continued through the night, carrying the promise of new discoveries, challenges, and opportunities. And Marcus, at the heart of it all, understood that this was only the beginning of humanity's journey among the stars, a journey defined by ingenuity, trust, and the unwavering spirit of a species ready to rise to any challenge.